Hey everyone, welcome back to another video from Spirituality Decoded. In the previous video, we explored the relationship between all the fundamental elements that form our human emotional and psychological experiences. Fundamentally, the whole process can be thought of as a chain reaction, starting with thoughts and ending with our decision to act in a certain way. In this video, we will explore the final output of that chain reaction, which is behavior. So what is behavior? Since we are constantly reacting to and interacting with our surroundings, behaviors is part of our daily life. We actively move our bodies to achieve cognitive goals and desires, to either get into positive emotional states or getting out of negative emotional state. We all are active agents, continuously engaged in physical and mental activities in order to fulfill our bodily needs and mental desire within this complex and ever-changing surroundings. Behavior is a complex subject. That's why we have psychology as a dedicated field to study just this topic. In the context of our discussion, though, we will only focus on behavioral patterns. These are automated behavioral responses that we acquire through repetitions, and they are controlled by our subconscious mind. In the beginning, these patterns are choices that we make deliberately and consciously. But as soon as we stop thinking about them, even though we still do them, they become our behavioral patterns or habits. Now you may think that you can control all of your behaviors. I hate to break it to you, but that's not always the case, especially those involuntary behaviors. Involuntary behaviors occur naturally and without us thinking about them. Some examples of involuntary behaviors are things like breathing, digesting food, your reflexes such as suddenly closing your eyes when something is about to hit your eyes. Voluntary behaviors, on the other hand, involve your free will to make a decision whether to take a specific action or not. So taking a walk down the street is an example of voluntary behavior. Unfortunately, we don't always exercise our free will, especially after a behavior has become a habit. Think about it. You start your day with a cup of coffee, always with the same amount of sugar and milk. You take the same route to work, you always eat lunch at noon, and when you go to your favorite restaurants, you always sit at the same table and order the same food. These habits guide most of the activities in our daily life. They govern what you put on yourself, how you talk to your loved ones, how you fall asleep, what you eat, how you work, and what your lifestyle is. And we don't usually pay attention to these patterns of behavior. After all, why bother, especially if everything is going so well with your life? But what if your life is not going so well? That is when you need to be more conscious about these behaviors and start challenging your beliefs that have been nurturing these behaviors behind your back. If you are feeling stressed out because you are not getting along with everyone in your family, it's time to examine how you have been treating others. Have you been projecting your trauma and fear on them? If you get up every day feeling tired and exhausted, maybe you need to start putting your phone away before bedtime and break that bad habit. If your weight gain is hurting your self-esteem, it's time for you to reevaluate your eating habit. If you have been feeling burnt out at work, it's time to reassess how you establish your boundary for work-life balance. If partying hard every weekend is causing you to feel more disconnected and drained than ever, maybe it's time to re-examine your lifestyle and ask yourself what you value more. Do you feel the need to be at the party every weekend because you really want to? Or is it because that's what everyone in your circle has been doing? Unfortunately, most of us tend to focus on external factors in order to look for someone to blame or something to use as an excuse instead of consciously taking inventory about behavior and belief. So why is it important to understand behavior? It's because our behavioral patterns define who we are and also influence what we experience in life. Let's look at the first factor here. How do our behaviors define who we are? We are not defined by our intention or thought. We are defined by what we do. That is, our actions. Although our actions are an extension of what we thinking or feelings, it's the action itself by which others will define us. It's our action that will always leave a lasting imprint on others. No one is remembered only by the intention. You can't change the world only by your intention. You need to turn your intentions into actions. So I just want to clarify something here. Even though it's the final action that counts, I'm not at all suggesting that we should undermine the significance of intentions, thoughts, and feelings. As we shall learn in future videos, they are all parts of the same process, and they each have a significant impact on the final outcome, that is our action. Now, at this point, it's important to distinguish between personality and behavior, as both of these define who we are, but each functions differently and has its own influences on who we are as a person. In other words, both of these together define who we are, but we can only change our behavior, not our personality. It may be a little tricky to differentiate between personality and behavior, but it's important that we don't confuse the two. Personality defines you, while behavior defines your reaction in a particular setting. Personality consists of persisting characteristics that are consistently demonstrated in spite of changing circumstances and environment. Therefore, it indicates the stable self of an individual, which makes him unique and different from others. And because it's defined habitual patterns of behavior, thought, and emotion, it provides a foundation for predicting behavior. Behaviors, on the other hand, are the ways we conduct ourselves. In other words, what we say and do and how we say and do it. Personality is permanent, unlike behavior, which is only temporary. We take our personality everywhere we go, but our behavior depends on the kind of environment we are in. For example, when you're in a meeting, you may act professional and aware, while when you're with your friend during an outing, you may be completely casual and carefree. It's all about presenting yourself the way you want. While personality doesn't change over time, behavior can be changed to a degree. So we said earlier that it's important for us to understand the concept of behavior because behavior defines who we are and also influences what we experience in life. That is our quality of life. So far, we have looked at the first element, how behavior defines who we are. Let's look at the second element, how it influences our quality of life. In the context of thought, feelings, and behavior, our behaviors also triggers more emotions, and the cycle continues. For example, we feel happy after helping out someone, or we feel ashamed and guilty after lashing out at someone about something. And so we experience the continuous cycle of think, feel, act, day in and day out. And it all starts with your thought. So, for example, if you think you are not good enough to advance in your career, you feel discouraged. Your lack of motivation and confidence in your work cause you to put in less effort, which preventing you from getting a promotion. You then use this as evidence to further reinforce your belief that you don't deserve a promotion. And before you know it, you're stuck with this belief that you are not good enough at what you do, and you carry it with you throughout your entire career. And this is exactly how your thoughts create your reality. And it is what we refer to as thought and behavioral patterns. Now, as humans, we naturally seek comfort in the familiar because it's always easier to keep doing what we have always done and behave in the ways we have always behaved than to change it. Therefore, if we repeatedly engage in these patterns, they encode as a blueprint in our subconscious mind. And here's the kicker. Did you know that our subconscious minds run 95% of our life on automation? As Dr. Bruce Lipton explained, neuroscientists have shown that most of our decisions, actions, emotions, and behavior depend on the 95% of brain activity that is beyond our conscious awareness, which means that 95% of our lives come from the programming in our subconscious mind. And so if we keep operating as creatures of habit, we keep giving our power away by allowing the subconscious mind to automate our decision and behavior using programs that was essentially written by us subconsciously by repeating the same behavioral and thought patterns over and over again. So if you think you're a failure, you feel like a failure. Like you feel worthless, discouraged, lack of confidence. And therefore you act like a failure. You tend to give up easily when facing obstacles, and you're afraid of change. Now the topic of the subconscious mind deserves its own video because it's a complicated subject. So we're going to save it for later. For now, I'm going to share with you my personal story in order to help you understand just how powerful the subconscious mind can be. So I was jogging with my friend one day, and all of a sudden, a neighbor dog got loose and started running toward us. Now, I was freaking out and trying to decide whether I should run or stay still. My friend remained calm and was even excited to greet and pet the dogs as it approached her. So it made me wonder why our responses were so different, even though we were both exposed to the same stimulus. Now, to answer this question, I had to dig deep into my childhood memory. So when I was about 8, I was attacked by a dog. The dog jumped out of nowhere and bit me on my leg while I was riding my bicycle in the neighborhood. Now, I did not suffer any serious injury, but I had to endure a series of rabies shots, which was very painful and quite traumatic for an 8-year-old. I eventually grew out of it. That traumatic experience did not make me hate dogs. I mean, we even adopted several dogs after the incident, and I loved them so dearly. Well, I have a dog now. The point is that I'm not afraid of dogs, so why was I so scared when that dog approached me? But my friend was not. And it wasn't just that incident. I have always felt nervous when I see someone's dogs in the yards as I was taking my daily walk. The truth is that traumatic experience was downloaded into my subconscious mind, and it resides there, waiting to be reactivated when the same environmental stimulus presents itself. And when it does, my brain retrieves that same programs from my subconscious mind, which then triggers the same response. In this case, the program runs something like this: stranger dog in sight, fear, get ready to run. All of this happens outside of my control. My friend, on the other hand, did not go through the same trauma. Therefore, her reaction was totally different from mine. So let's summarize what we have learned so far. First of all, our behaviors is both the output and input to the cycle of think, feel, and act. In other words, we behave in reaction to how we feel, which is the output, and how we behave triggers additional emotions, which is now the input, and the cycle continues endlessly. And second of all, 95% of our behavior comes from our subconscious mind. If we are not aware of our thought patterns, these behavior patterns keep replaying themselves, defining who we are and what we experience in life. Once we are aware of it and start paying attention to these patterns, we can start rewriting this program. How to do that? We will discuss it when we explore the subconscious mind. Up to this point, it may appear to you that most of our actions are determined by pre-existing forces beyond our control. After all, if we generally behave and respond to external and internal stimuli, which is our feelings, then aren't we merely the products of our genetic and social programmings, our environment, our circumstances? Well, not quite. If we really dig deeper, we will find that we do have the power of free will to consciously choose how we want to behave. More specifically, although we can't control what happens in the external world or how we feel, we can choose how we want to react to those feelings, especially the unpleasant and difficult ones. We just have to be more conscious of our feelings and learn how to deal with them more intelligently. How to do that? We will explore that when we dive into the topic of emotions. For now, stay tuned and thank you for watching this video.